anyone else feel like they're absolutely drowning financially?
They want to move to London because there's more opportunity. The only opportunity you'll get here is to be broke.
$8 for 5 slices of turkey.
Okay, so I am clearly not in my normal setup in my house. I'm up in New Jersey at my parents' house for the holidays, but I wanted to make this video revisiting the topic about the cost of living, because since the last time I made a video several months ago, it really doesn't seem like it's gotten too much better. But I thought it'd be interesting for this video to compare a lot of numbers and what a lot of people see, both with myself living in North Carolina and now in New Jersey, seeing some of the prices of normal everyday necessities 20 years ago, along with your comments from previous videos with your experiences wherever you live in the country or the world. So if you want to be featured on a future video, leave it in the comments down below. But we're just going to start off with just some numbers we can compare with the prices from 20 years ago.
Welcome to the year 2001. The price for a new home is $170,000. If you're renting, an apartment in a city like New York will cost you $1,800 a month. The median household income in the United States is just over $42,000. Workers at minimum wage jobs are paid $5.15 an hour. The popular cell phone in 2001, the Nokia 3310, costs $180, and the first ever iPod has a price tag of $399. College students at private universities pay just over $25,000 for tuition, room, and board, compared to $9,000 for in-state students at public colleges. A new car like the Toyota Corolla has a starting price of $13,000, and you could fill it up with gas for $1.48 a gallon. You could see new movies like Ocean's 11 and The Lord of the Rings for $5.60 a ticket. If you go to McDonald's, a Happy Meal will cost you $2.70. Where were you in the year 2001?
Okay, so of course inflation is going to happen within 23 years of when I'm currently recording this video, but you could see some of the prices just absolutely exploding comparing to others. I mean, at least where I am, we could talk about gas right now, and of course that's always variable throughout the year, but at least down in North Carolina, it's around $2.60 a gallon, which is clearly a lot more than around the 140s. But coming up here to New Jersey, they're around $3 a gallon, especially when I was driving up traveling. The stops there were all the way up to $3.40 a gallon. You could talk about the movie tickets, of course, the housing prices, but we could look at some of the comments for this video. Everything went up except for the median income. This is why our elders were able to afford and make it, and yet we're stuck. And at the end of the video, they asked where a lot of people were in 2001. You get some examples. I turned 16 in 2001 and had my first job making $6.50 minimum wage in California. Brand new car, a Toyota Echo that was only 11 grand and could fill it up for $10. I was 18, working in school, always going shopping, living my best life. I was in college, those were the good old days. Went to a state school, so I didn't go broke in loans, which is almost never the case now if you want to go to college. And even being a poor college student, we could still go to the movies and get McDonald's for $10 or less. Movie tickets now depends. I mean, I've seen at least like $10 to $12 a ticket, some more popular movies being in the $20 range. Living my best life in my late 20s outside of New York City, rent was $800, 12 miles to the city. And that was one of the only things that was pretty high in price even 20 plus years ago. The rent was $1,800, but I'm pretty sure that meant you were right in the heart of New York City. And those apartments now, what? I mean, $4,000, $5,000? I would say, you know, even more. It could get unbelievable if you have the penthouse and those super expensive apartment buildings. And I mean, now what? $1,800 might get you a studio apartment, but it doesn't really stop there. The groceries are not getting better either.
Just curious, just went grocery shopping, just a quick grocery shop. $151, and like literally I got some juice. Yes, I have 2 roasted chickens in there, but like literally like nothing. Like, I have teenagers, they eat holy, because I'm gonna have to go again to the grocery store by Wednesday, Thursday the latest, and this was just something quick.
So I got 2 cans of beans, all right, yogurt, bananas, a sweet potato the size of a newborn baby, wax strips, because if I want to get anything waxed, it's so expensive. Floss sticks. I promised you these were the cheapest ones. 2 cases of Coke Zero, and a birthday gift. And this was one of the cheaper birthday gifts, and that was all $100.
So I do have some examples later in the video with some grocery prices, at least with my own experiences. But I mean, especially right now, I would like to see the difference between the shopping habits and the amount people are spending for something like Thanksgiving or Christmas coming up compared to previous years. Either people spending more for the exact same products they got last year and racking up even more credit card debt, or actually cutting back and not buying as many things as the previous holidays. So we have a comment from one of you guys: having a house and all bills covered every month is a luxury now. And honestly, it is pretty sad, but it seems to be true. We've seen in previous videos a lot of people are starting to get long-term hotels or motel stays because it's cheaper than renting an apartment. They just can't afford it, or a mortgage is like out of the question. And I mean, I guess that's a good transition into some of the rent prices. I mean, this one is, I just don't know how you could stay in this area.
Can someone tell me why LA is so out of touch? My boyfriend and I are trying to move. Our cap is $5,000, which is basically a mortgage payment. I don't even know if I want to own a home. I would just like a little bit extra room. If we find something that we like, it's in a really part of the neighborhood, or if we do find something that we're like, oh, okay, this is in our price range, which by the way, $5,000 is a lot of money to pay to rent something that you don't even own. And then we find something and then it doesn't have a yard for my dog, or it doesn't have a garage, and it's like, these are like, everybody should have a yard, everybody should have a garage, and you want me to pay $6,500 for something that doesn't have black mold in it? I mean, LA is just like, I don't even know how people live here. It's insane.
I really don't know why you would. It's the prices. I get it. They have good weather virtually year round. I just don't know how you could clearly be able to make a good solid income having $5,000 to be able to rent, and it's still not good enough in LA. At least for me, that means I gotta get out of there. And we have a comment from one of you guys talking about that. I recently relocated to Vegas from SoCal. My rent there was 75% of my take-home pay. Here is about 55% of my take home, which is still not great. My rent increases in SoCal were $100 to $125 a year. I'm also solo and paying all the living expenses in its entirety. Navigating finances has become an art form. And because of that, we started to see even more people rack up credit card debt. It's not just completely overspending and paying for a lifestyle that they clearly cannot afford. Some are just trying to get by and still having to severely cut back, along with racking up debt just to be able to stay above water. And even though a majority of the viewers here are American, along with myself, it's not much better in other parts of the world as well.
What the hell is going on in Canada right now? I am home visiting my parents this weekend for the holidays. I live in the West Village in New York City, the highest cost of living yuppie area ever in the history of the United States. I am never shocked when I get a dinner bill. I'm never shocked when I go on vacation. Nothing phases me. I've traveled all over the world. Tell me why I come home to Newmarket, Ontario, the suburbs of Toronto, and I'm shocked at the cost of living here. How are Canadian people making it work? Everybody involved with the economy right now needs to be fired immediately. We need to contact the UN and get a binding resolution here. Something sinister is going on in Canada, and I'm determined to get to the bottom of it.
And the food prices are just insane. So I just want to give you an example. I asked for 5 slices of turkey breast. You can literally count them. I literally asked for 5 slices because it's for my daughter and she doesn't eat very much. Anyways, I got the Compliments brand, which is like a no-name brand. $7.72. $8 for 5 slices of turkey.
London, I don't know what type of limited edition Oliver Twist lifestyle you're selling to us, but we can't hack it. It's too much. London is so expensive that even nights in, if you stay at home, still costs you money. The other day I stayed in with my missus. I thought, yeah, let's have something to eat. Let's order Chinese. 50 notes. 50 notes. What the hell is that? Whoa. Are you shipping it from China? What the hell are you doing? That Chinese was so expensive, I told her to put her clothes on that we're going out. Sometimes I get annoyed when I hear people say they want to move to London because there's more opportunity. The only opportunity you'll get here is to be broke.
So honestly, it is just insane. And I know it's the same way in Australia as well. So much so that there is even more talk than I think I've ever seen online with Americans, Canadians, Australians, all places that have very high cost of living, just moving out of the country in droves, trying to get some sort of passive income or a work from home job, which ends up being just online with the laptop with their home country's currency and move to a lower cost of living because it's just getting too much for people. And I mean, the next comment says exactly that. The American dream is a remote job living abroad where you're treated best. But specifically that clip talking about the guy who went back to Canada and was surprised with the prices when he lives in one of the most expensive areas in New York City, which is already just out of control right now. When you see that he's surprised by Canada markets, that's definitely not a good sign. We have another comment from one of you guys. The cost of living in Toronto and Vancouver is nuts. If you want a detached house that's not a teardown or a gut job, you have to shell out around $2 million. And there's clearly just a disconnect between the upper class, the government, who are telling us that the cost of living is starting to get under control because they just keep hammering out that inflation is lower now, even though that doesn't really solve the problem. That just means it's increasing at a slower rate than it did a few years ago, but the damage was already done. And I just think it's amazing that we'll get clips like the next few that I'm going to show you, where it's almost just laughing in the face of the majority of the people on the planet, you know, the normal middle class workers.
I appreciate that people are having a hard time. Me too. Yeah. I work for a living. If I had all the money in the world, I would not be here. Okay? So I'm a working person.
Working person? This is the most out-of-touch thing I've ever heard a celebrity say. We got to run some numbers and put this into perspective. The median household income in America is $80,000. And after taxes, it's about $66,000, and this is before 401k contributions and health insurance. You have been famous for 40 years and have a net worth of $60 million. And on top of that, you make $8 million a year. And even though you're paying an insane amount of taxes, you're still taking home $3.8 million a year. That is $73,000 a week take-home pay. You, Whoopi Goldberg, by yourself, make more money per week than the average American family makes a year. And you're gonna sit here and say that you relate to the struggle of the American people? Do you realize that people have not recovered financially since the pandemic?
I just don't understand how there's still a culture of looking up to celebrities and thinking that they could really relate to a lot of normal people. Now, I get it. It's not like you're supposed to hate on everybody. If you like a celebrity's music, I mean actors, any form of entertainment, it's just honestly a completely different world than most of us will ever see. And then taking advice or notes from somebody who is, I mean, $70,000 a week, it's just too much for me. And that's why I don't normally watch too much TV anymore, or unfortunately entertainment. I mean, I've watched tons of movies and TV shows that in the past, but the new stuff, at least for me, is just not hitting anymore. But I guess celebrities will still say that they're the working class with us, the common man. We have another comment from one of you guys. Anyone who has ever said money can't buy happiness is wrong. Money can buy food, shelter, health, transportation, safe drinking water. It's always the person who has such an abundance of money will say that they'll still be upset. I know what they're trying to say is that obsessing about just hoarding as much money as possible and there kind of being no end game to it will just make you miserable. But most people's problems are the exact opposite. They have to stress all day just to be able to make ends meet, virtually having no future, no savings, no retirement, and just constantly work to pay off the next month's bills. Here's another one that I actually had to look up because I was hoping that this was a lie, like it was a complete joke just to get attention online or TikTok views, likes on Instagram, anything, but it's too much.
While the majority of Americans struggle to pay for groceries, this ordinary banana just sold for over $6 million in NYC yesterday. Wait, there's absolutely nothing special about this banana. It was purchased for 35 cents before being sold for over $6 million. That's roughly a 2 billion% markup. And yes, before you ask, the person who purchased this piece will have to continually replace both the banana and the duct tape. Now for the $6 million question. Why buy this, especially when you're just going to have to make your own anyway? The answer is simple. This is the ultimate because I can purchase. The only reason that you would buy something like this is as an FU to the working class, as a way to say, I have so much money, I can waste it on something absolutely useless while you're struggling to pay for food. It's not about beauty, it's not about art, it's about ego and wasting money for the sake of showing one can waste money. That's it. There's a huge statement when you blow $6 million on a banana in a time where so many people are struggling to eat. And look, the person who bought it just plans to eat it, and they don't even get a banana included.
So unfortunately, I looked it up, and this happened, and I think a lot lot of you with the comments will say, was this just an old video? Here's a comment. Was this a remake? This happened a few years ago, and it did end up happening a couple years ago. Same artist and an update. The old one sold for around $120,000. So I do remember this happening and seeing it and going 6 figures for it. You know how stupid it is. And now 7 figures, almost $6 million. It is exactly what the clip said. It's just an ego showing how much money that they could just throw in the hole for virtually no reason, for a banana duct tape against the wall. And then people are surprised why there is so much divide amongst people in the country. Another comment from you guys, I used to think $100,000 was a rich person's salary, and then when I started making that, I realized it's not what I thought it to be today. Such a bummer. And I know that this is a divisive comment because where you are in the country really does determine if $100,000 is good or not. Now, I have a couple pictures that I wanted to show. So apparently this is what a livable wage is in each one of the states. Now I'll have it up if you want to pause. You could check wherever you are in the country and see if it is accurate. Now, I get to understand in certain areas like North and South Dakota, I mean Montana, where you're in like the 30s, $35,000 a year. I could understand that that would probably be a livable wage. The housing prices are very reasonable. Now, there's a lot less jobs, but I mean, some of these states, you know, it's 30, you might be able to be all right. However, let's just take New Jersey, which is one of the highest at $42,000. Now, even with that income, it'd be really difficult to stay and live in New Jersey, especially where I am right now. I'm not in a super wealthy town. A lot of working class end up living here, but entire families are working just to be able to pay these crazy prices for housing, which we'll get to in a second. But 45 for New York State and New York City, 45 for California. I just don't see that really working out. I mean, it's got to be a very small place with several roommates. Very, very difficult situation. But then we could go to the contrary. The income a family needs to live comfortably. So it goes from livable to comfortably. So apparently it was the low 40s for New Jersey to be able to survive, but to live comfortably is over $250,000. Look at how much of a jump. New York State is even worse, 280. We saw Massachusetts was really high, 301,000. And again, this is to be able to live comfortably. This doesn't mean you have the beach house, you know, at the shore and you get to go on vacations whenever you want. A 277 for California. I mean, Washington, Oregon, all of these are sitting at around $250,000 right now. So if you want to take a look at both of the numbers between livable and living comfortably, the prices are crazy different. We have another comment from you guys. Farmers markets and meat stores save me tons of money, but yes, it sucks how bad it's getting. And there was a reply to it. Really, farmers markets are more expensive here. Small farms can't compete with production costs of corporate farms. And we talked about it a little bit, but I wanted to get some clips with my local farmers market, at least in North Carolina. I went to the Raleigh farmers market. Now, you could see some of the prices, and overall, it's just more expensive. I'm not going to lie. It's either comparable to going to places like Walmart and Target for your produce or any of the groceries that you'd normally get, or it'd be just more expensive. And I understand, just like the reply to the comments said, it's smaller farmers competing with production. I'm not trying to be negative, saying it is more expensive, you know, than going to Walmart, but that just is the reality, at least for me. Maybe your farmers markets are cheaper than getting your produce at a normal grocery store. It's just not really for me. And on top of showing you some of the prices that I see in Raleigh with the farmers market, I wanted to show you some of the prices in around the area where I used to live, and I'm currently right now in New Jersey, and show you how crazy some of these prices are. So right here we have a house for sale pretty close to where I grew up. 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1,700 square feet for almost $600,000. Estimated payments at almost $4,200 a month. And you could see what you get for that price. I don't know about you, I'm not the best interior designer on the planet, but I would say that this house needs a solid amount of, that is rough, man, I'm not gonna lie. It needs a good amount of work, and a lot of wallpaper needs to be ripped down. I mean, just like the floors are rough, the colors, I'm just not a fan of. Maybe some of you like this. Whew. Basement not looking too good, and they lost a significant portion of their backyard for an in-ground pool that currently right now it's a little bit over 40 degrees in New Jersey, so you could basically use your pool for 3 months out of the year. Even June it's a little bit too cold. Mid to late June it might get reasonable, so you have maybe June, July, August, and when we get into September it would start getting a little bit cooler. I mean, for over $4,000 a month. Here we have another one that's also pretty close. 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2,400 square feet. I mean, large house, not going to lie, $700,000 $500,000. And this is in a town that, again, I know Denellen, it's pretty close. It's not the worst place, but it's not something super fancy. And you would pay almost $5,200 for, you could clearly see from the first picture, you have no land. You have a front yard, and then you are right next to a house that looks almost the exact same. I mean, the inside of the house doesn't look bad. I mean, there's stains right there, as I could see on the wood, but overall just a pretty plain layout house for $700,000 here. And if you wanted to take a look at renting around here, we have one in Carteret, 3-bedroom, 2-bath duplex for almost $3,000 a month, $2,900 a month. And here we could take a look. Now, before my parents got the house that I'm in right now, we did also rent a duplex that was very similar to this. I will admit that this looks better and a little bit bigger than what we used to live in as a family when I was around 7, 8 years old. But back then, my dad ended up paying $1,200 a month for rent compared to this duplex, which is, like I said, bigger, but more than double, almost $3,000. Here we have one that's just off the wall. You could see just ends up looking like a normal small ranch. Apparently 5 bedrooms, 2 baths with 1,200 square feet. That is $4,000 a month. It's in Edison, New Jersey, which again is not a super fancy area, not super run down either, but honestly looks kind of tight. With only 1,200 square feet, you can see that the rooms are not that big. All the pictures you could see are a wide angle lens to make it look like it's a bigger room than it actually is. But apparently, like it says in the description, it's a commuter's dream. So they're trying to get all the people that work near New York City, which Edison is not that close to New York. I mean, it's not a crazy distance, but commuting still would not be that fun. And they want somebody to pay $4,000 for rent here. It's the exact reason why I moved down to North Carolina when I was working online, working from home. I didn't want to rent here. I didn't want to own a house here. And I'm not going to lie, even where I live in North Carolina right now, I am looking for houses and I'm basically getting priced out as well. I'm starting to look at places in South Carolina, in Georgia to be able to own my first home. It's even getting bad around the areas where I tried to escape the prices here. It's just getting to be too much because we didn't even talk about car prices in here. Housing costs, groceries, I mean, we could talk about insurance rates going up too. All of it is just getting to be too overwhelming. So that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know any of your experiences where you guys live and seeing your cost of living, whether it is comparing it to the farmers markets that I see in North Carolina or some of the ridiculous prices that I see here up in New Jersey. But YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and I'll talk to you guys later.